Raw Story is reporting on the terrifying new effects of climate change here. So we recently learned that at least 5 reef islands in the remote Solomon Islands have been lost completely to sea level rise and coastal erosion, and a further 6 islands have been severely eroded. This is the first scientific evidence published in environmental research letters that confirms the numerous anecdotal accounts from across the Pacific of the dramatic impacts of climate change on coastlines and people. For the past 20 years, the Solomon Islands have been a hotspot for sea level rise. Here, the sea has risen at almost 3 times the global average, around 7 to 10 millimeters per year since 1993. So that adds up to the point where now we know 5 islands are gone. They're underwater. Now, they also go on to point out that wave energy contributes to this as well. For whatever reason, in that area of the world, the energy of the waves crashing against the land is such that it increases erosion and over time makes it so that it goes underwater quicker. But the main point here is, look at where we're at. This is something that people did not think that it would happen in our lifetimes. Now it's happening in our lifetimes. In real time, we see islands that are going underwater. I'm also reminded of the Vice piece when I read this. I think the Vice piece was in, I think it was Bangladesh, where in certain areas of Bangladesh, the sea level is clearly rising to the point where it's disrupting people and they have to move because places where they were before is now underwater. So it shouldn't be taken lightly, man. And as I've said before as well, when you talk about sea level rise, it's actually one of the least bad consequences of climate change. Like, people always point to that as, when you think about climate change, like, oh, well, you're going to have places underwater. That's a big problem. But comparatively speaking to the other issues, it's almost like that's one of the, on the lower level of problems that come about as a result of climate change. The bigger problems are water scarcity. I mean, there could be wars over water. Think about that for a second. Bigger problems are drought and famine. Well, as soon as you get drought and famine, well, then all of a sudden the cost of your normal food goods goes up tremendously, and then everybody's panicking. It's going to affect everybody in one way or another in due time. And we've already seen, for example, increased natural disasters that are more severe than they would have been without climate change, and the patterns are clear on that. If you look at, for example, wildfires, they've gotten bigger and more powerful over time, partly as a result of climate change. So there's so many issues that come about as a result of it, and we don't even pay attention to the worst ones. But now we know, because it's happening in real time, yeah, islands are going to go underwater, and they already are.